Hello everyone, something a little different this week. I have been kind of getting into the new Riftbound card game, and I went to my first Nexus event, or Nexus Night. I don't know what they call it. It's their kind of semi-casual locals thing. So I went to my first one of those tonight, and I figured I would just kind of fill you guys in on what I'm doing in the game and see if it interests you guys. So to start off, I played the Lux deck. This one is from the Proving Grounds product. It is a blue-yellow leader with when you play a spell that costs 5 or more, draw 1. It's a pretty simple ability, and as you can imagine, pretty strong for a control deck. Being able to get that constant card draw is pretty effective. And then my chosen champion here, we have this Lux who has tap to add 2 energy that it can only be used to play spells. So these two together go pretty well. This one accelerates you into your big spells a little bit earlier if you can find the space for it. And then you just kind of play a bunch of big spells to try to end the game. So those are my legend and my chosen champion. Next up, I'll go over my battlefields real quick. So paradoxically, even though I feel like I'm a control deck, I did enjoy playing the Arena's Greatest as a way of getting the game to end a little bit early. Even though this leader ability does draw you cards and it works into an end game, it is something where if you don't draw right, you really need to be able to turn the corner and finish the game. So having 1 less point to finish, especially because your removal can kind of keep them from getting there, did kind of help a little bit. The other thing that we'll get into when we get into the deck is the deck does have a little bit of an early bent where you want to get out early, get some early points using your removal to kind of clear the battlefield to get those early points. And then if you can get to an early lead, then you can set up for a late game push with some of the other cards. So I found that this one was pretty good. This one I was a little less clear on. Terragon's Peak, when you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of the turn. It did work reasonable, especially in context of Lux too. I was able to double spell a little earlier than I think I might have otherwise, especially because these 5 costs use up a lot of your runes. And getting into a mode where you can conquer this and then hold up to play a 5 cost to draw and remove stuff on your opponent's turn was pretty good. And then finally we have the Trifarian War Camp where units have +1 might. This one is great because a lot of our units bring recruits and you get wide in bodies. So this just gives you extra value for all of your bodies. So those are my battlefields. Moving on to the runes, I have 6 and 6. This is a adaptation from the Victor starter deck. So the 6/6, it worked well enough for me. I don't feel like I need to switch. It gave me a pretty good variance where I would find what I needed. If anything, there is a triple yellow power cost in the deck, so you might want to go 7/5 favoring yellow a little bit, but I think that the 6/6 worked out pretty well. And then let's get into the cards. So the first I have for my units is this 2-cost Soaring Scout. This one is just important to have 2 drops in this game, and having this guy come out, and when he dies after you've gotten your first conquer, you just let him die and get your rune, which lets you get into your bigger double spells pretty quick. The next 2-drop I had was a Ravenbloom Student. This seems to be one of the better 2-drops in the entire game. And we do play a lot of spells, so I was able to take a little bit of advantage of the Ravenbloom Student, although it's a lot less important than it could be. It's just a really solid 2-drop. I'm also running 2 of the Daring Poro, just trying to keep my number of 2-drops up. And this one can be solid just at taking a battlefield if you have to go second. If your opponent gets to get ahead with maybe a buff or something like that, you can still take with the Daring Poro. Next up, let's see how many we have of the next card. Next up, we have the Noxian Drummer. Noxian Drummer, the recruits thing is pretty strong in yellow, so I'm sticking with that. And it has got a pretty efficient body. Otherwise, I do wish I had access to a little more ready stuff to try to get advantage of this use out of this earlier, but this was pretty solid. I do wish that you could play the recruit to another place other than the battlefield, but we take what we can get. Next up, we have the Faithful Manufacturer, who is real similar, where it immediately gets the recruit, but at the cost of being one less might. I do find that this one is usually better, because when you have to invest all 4 of your stuff into a battlefield here, it can usually all get wiped out. Whereas if you have this one, then you can devote just 1 or 2 to a battlefield and then hold the rest back for a future turn. Next up, we have some other units here. We have Victor. I'm only running one of these guys. It felt like a pretty solid card when I was able to stick it. Synergizing pretty well with one of the axes of the deck, and it felt okay at 1. I didn't think I ever wanted to see a second one, so that worked pretty well. Next one I'm gonna have is this Machine Evangel. This one just came out of my Victor deck. I only have the 1, so that is a little limiting. I would consider running more, but at 5 cost, it's really hard to kind of get him out onto the battlefield alongside a spell, which is usually what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to cast a spell that cost 5 and cast a dude if I could, which would have been a pretty strong play. Next up, we have Stupefy. This is just a good cantrip card. I think that it is not at its strongest in this deck because most of your removal spells will kill something outright. You don't have to like also add this on top to kill stuff. But just being a cantrip means it's hard for it to be really dead. Next one we have is Cull the Weak. This one was great tonight. There were a lot of players who would play just one body out, and I would be able to either, if they had one out from a previous turn, kill something with my leader ability and then Cull the Weak the other one. And I usually had some number of recruits to sit back and just get culled. So this was really strong tonight. It blew out a lot of players, preventing them from ever really establishing board. And then once I got ahead with removal, I could deal with their threats pretty reliably. Speaking of removal and now 5 cost events for Lux, we first ran the Falling Comet. Just a strong card. This, I don't think there was a single time where this didn't get to kill what it wanted, outside of the opponent maybe using a retreat or something like that tonight. Next up, we have Imperial Decree. This one, the idea is you get to use your 1/1s, your 1 might guys to KO their guys. And on offense, this was, I found, a lot harder to do. There were a lot of times where my opponent would just deal with the 1/1, and I would be forced to use my remaining guys to trade into to not lose the ability here. So this was a lot less strong than I wanted on offense. That said, it was very strong on defense. So if I find an opportunity to play this one on defense, this one is very strong, letting me make the 1/1 recruit in the base just kill whatever they're going in to attack for. And because it does it for the whole turn, if you manage to capture both battlefields with your recruits, then this gets to kill 2 things unless they use cards to get around it. So very strong, but I don't think 3 is the correct number. This next card 100% is a 3 or a full 3 of in the deck. It's Recruit the Vanguard, which is from the Proving Grounds thing. Action, make 4 guys, was really strong. So if your opponents did give you an action, oftentimes I would just use this on their turn to make 4 guys into base to where they couldn't plan around what I was going to have on my next turn. And then if I had an Imperial Decree, I can also on the following turn use those 4 guys and both cards with the leader drawing me a card. So that worked out quite nicely. Next up, we have Blast of Power. This is another one from the Proving Grounds deck. Just a great no questions asked removal spell. It's a little more expensive than some of the other ones because the Falling Comet is probably the strongest of the things for this deck, just because 6 almost always deals with stuff, but there are a few things that it doesn't, and then Blast of Power gets to clear those without too much issue. Next up, we have 3 of Singularity. This card, it was probably the most impactful card of the night. Cold a week early if I could find it, but this was always strong, being able to KO 2 of their units. Most players couldn't play around it very well, and if they were trying to play around Cold a Week that I had maybe played early and showed that was in my deck, then they would get got by the Singularity. So this was a really good combination, really pushing them into a corner either way. The 2 power cost is not nothing, but especially if you can stick Lux and keep Lux on the board, it's not too bad to kind of continually use your stuff and stay at maybe 8 or 9 runes using a Singularity each turn. Next card we have is Grand Stratagem. It's just a one of here. If you can get this on board after you play a Recruit the Vanguard, you are in a very strong spot, and you can definitely win a lot of games that way. I don't know if I would go up to 2 because you never want to see a second one. You really just want to see the first, and because your leader draws a good amount of cards, you probably can find the one. I think if I would consider a second one, but I don't think that it's probably correct. And then the final card I have in here, when I played League of Legends way back when, I actually created my original League of Legends account way back in 2010. But when I was playing way back then, I played Lux, and it was one of my favorite things to do in the game. Just long range laser somebody for great effect. And tonight my opponent played out a Watcher. They played it out without accelerating it because they were hoping to try to take both battlefields on a future turn, and they did not anticipate my ability to KO a 7 might guy, and I happen to have drawn my one of signature spell, so that worked out really nice. I don't think I would cut this one because if for no other reason, it's fun to have. But yeah, so that is the deck. Real quick about how I would generally play it. Usually you want to get into a mode where you play a removal spell, one of your 5 or 6 costs, play a 2 or 3 cost guy, and then you get your card draw, and you use this guy to, on the following turn, try to capture and use what you played on the previous turn to do that. So you wipe a battlefield, send in a guy for free, and then play a guy so that you're set up to do it next turn. A lot of times you just give up on your guys. You don't try to protect them, and you kind of just fall into that really control-y role. The games that I played against Kaisa in the first round, and I made it go really long, but I could not find enough guys that could survive their removal. So even though I was able to remove everything they played, they got to remove everything I played, and they were able to stick a few threats with their Accelerate to kind of push through me at the end. Next up, I played against Set, and the anti-removal ability was really hard to get around, but I did manage to just kind of really pressure in their guys and prevent them from being able to hold on to their buffs. So they couldn't use them. They had to use the Set ability and keep protecting their bodies, which prevented them from really kind of chaining any of their momentum against me. And then eventually I did get there. I think I had an Imperial Decree that really prevented them from swinging in, so I was able to get a good hold at one point, and got ahead. Then in the final turn, they tried to hold while holding. They held back a little bit and didn't go full hold on a battleground because they didn't want to get got by Grand Stratagem and have nothing left. So they held a little bit back so that they could attempt to go for it on the following turn. And instead of drawing the Grand Stratagem, I drew Singularity. So I was able to get the double conquer on the turn that they were really hoping that I wouldn't be able to. And it was great. Then the next round, at this point, I'm 1-1. I played against Leona. The Leona player kind of got a little bit stifled early. I think they didn't find a 2-cost. And then their 4-cost I got with my Cull the Week. And then I think on the following turn I Cull the Week again. So I really got ahead to a really early start. And didn't even have to use any of my big removal spells at first. Got a lot of points off of my my little dudes and took that game pretty handily. But that's just a kind of summary of how my Nexus night went. And let me show you what I got from the pack. And then we will call it a video. So we got a Mind Rune, which is very pretty. We got a Void Seeker. This is a different kind of foiling from the regular foil, but a Void Seeker. And then we got a Stormclaw Ursine. Really happy to get the Mind Rune here because it'll go in this deck. Yeah, that is kind of my first thing. Let me know if you guys are interested in Riftbound or if you like this video format. I could do a little bit more like this with my One Piece decks, but I figure being able to see them played is usually going to be more entertaining for you. But if you do like this format, I will try to incorporate this format a little bit more with One Piece. And if this Riftbound content is successful enough, I'll wind up another channel to do it. And if it's not as popular, then I'll just include it every once in a while so you guys can see the people who are interested and kind of see where I'm at and with the game. And for those who hadn't made the connections yet, I do live in Houston. So the first event for the Riftbound regionals, the first one in the US entirely, is here in Houston. So I'm going to be going. I just got a spectator thing, but I'm just hoping to really try this game out and see if we can't add a little bit more variety to the trading card content that I both enjoy and otherwise. But thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.